Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to talk about what we do at the Mission Continues first by sharing a story about someone who we've actually served. I'd like to share Phil Bauer's story. So Phil Bauer grew up on a fruit and dairy farm in upstate New York. In 2001, he answered his own passion and desire to serve, and he answered our country's call to serve, and he joined the Army. In 2003, Phil Bauer deployed to Iraq as a cavalry scout with the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment. He served outside of Fallujah. And in November of that year, in November of 2003, he boarded a Chinook to go to Baghdad International Airport to hopefully get a flight home for Thanksgiving. It was that time in his year that he would get home. And that Chinook, on its way to Baghdad International Airport, was shot down. The Chinook fell 150 feet. The other 16 members of the helicopter on board died. Phil found himself in the bottom of burning wreckage, and fortunately that burning wreckage melted enough of his boot away that he could pull his own leg out, and assistance folks came. 12 surgeries, and 23 days later, Phil lost his leg below the knee. He was evacuated back to the United States, found himself in 8 months of care, and then was medically retired from the Army in 2004. Phil entered at that point, and Phil would tell you this if he was here today, Phil entered at that point a very dark period in his life. It was a period that was defined by a cycle of substance abuse. It was a period defined by a cycle of self-destruction, destroying those around him. And he was in that cycle for a very long time, for 5 years. And in 2009, Phil was fortunate to find the Mission Continues. And at that point in his life, Phil knew that he needed to return to service. And the Mission Continues, we sponsored a fellowship for Phil with East Coast Assistance Dogs, where Phil worked with at-risk and troubled youth in training assistance dogs for people with disabilities. And Phil spent that 6 months working with those at-risk and troubled youth, and also working with himself. And at the end of that 6 month, Phil found employment with East Coast Assistance Dogs and continues to work there today. But I want to share a direct quote from Phil on what that experience meant to him. "Giving back has given me much more than anything I could have imagined. Working with dogs has taught me more about patience than any anger management or PTSD course. Giving back has been the most useful tool I have to giving myself a purpose, and it has brought me back to feeling human, making me feel whole again." Okay? So at the Mission Continues, we challenge post-9/11 veterans to rebuild a sense of purpose that they had while they were in the military by serving in their communities. And to date, since our inception, we've engaged 196 veterans in over 30 states, in over 145 organizations nationwide. And those community service organizations can be as nationally recognized as a Habitat for Humanity or a Mothers Against Drunk Driving or a Girl Scouts of America, a Boys and Girls Club of America, or as locally focused and kind of specifically focused as an East Coast Assistance Dogs in Dobbs Ferry, New York. And the dynamics of the fellowship itself, I mentioned it's 6 months. The Mission Continues provides a living stipend to the fellow over the course of those 6 months, so that the host organization, the community organization, can receive a dedicated volunteer, someone who knows how to execute, has demonstrated their ability to execute against a mission. They can receive those veterans without cost to the organization. At the start of their fellowship, we ask each fellow to identify an exit strategy. They are moving towards something as they're moving through this fellowship. That is either employment, ongoing education, or continued service to the community. And our program managers work with them towards that exit strategy throughout the course of their 6 months. As I mentioned, we've served 196 to date. We're looking to expand that in the triple to quadruple range next year. And it's because of the emerging impact that we're seeing of a return to service in engaging these veterans. And I want to share a little bit from an independent study from the Center for Social Development from Washington University on the impact that the fellowships have had on the first cohort of our veterans. 71% of our fellows have furthered their education as a result of the fellowship. 86% have transferred military skills to civilian employment. 91% have built networking opportunities for a future career path. 86% have believed the program helped them to become a better community leader. And 91% have taught others the value of service and were able to sustain a role of service in their community. So both Phil Bauer and the Phil Bauers that we have served, as well as the statistics that are coming from Washington University like this, I think are emerging proof positive that the vehicle of service and giving the veterans the opportunity to continue their mission is a way to address many of the issues that we're seeing within the veteran community today. Thank you.